Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the latest on the scandal surrounding Boris Johnson's attempt to get his now wife, but at the time his mistress, a lucrative government job. As a Tory MP admits that the story's true, the person who pulled the story from the Daily Mail, is given a peerage, and Johnson's ethics advisor, who announced his resignation last week, said that this should be investigated in the public interest. Many things have happened. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So when I discussed this scandal, was it just Monday, a couple of days ago, the story was that Boris Johnson was alleged, as Foreign Secretary a few years ago, to have tried to get Carrie Symonds, as she was at the time, a job in the Foreign Office, which would have paid £100,000 a year. At the time, Johnson's wife had just been diagnosed with cancer, so he decided to bin her off for a younger model, Carrie Symonds. In that earlier video, given that the story was pulled and at the time it was unclear what the reasons were, I was charitable enough to suggest that just maybe, something had gone wrong and the story wasn't true after all. It's highly unlikely, but just because a story fits Johnson's character and a media organisation that does do its due diligence posted it, doesn't guarantee that it's absolutely true. But then we heard that Johnson had pressured the Times into pulling their story. So we knew why they pulled their story now. So he'd put pressure on them to pull it from their website in the later editions. We're told he did this on the basis that the story wasn't true. Okay. Of course, there had to be more to it than that. The Times had corroborated the story with what it considered 4 reliable witnesses. It would take more than Boris Johnson, a known liar, to simply deny the story when they were sure of their sources. So it looked more likely that someone very senior in the newspaper group had been contacted by Johnson, who then told the editor to take it down. If so, we don't know who that would be. Might even be Rupert Murdoch, the owner of the paper. But then the Daily Mail took down the story as well. And again, it wasn't clear to me, did they take it down because someone senior had contacted them, or just because they were reacting to the Times pulling their story? Because I don't know the exact timing. Well, now we know, or at least there's a huge coincidence occurring here. So it's just been announced that Paul Dacre, who's worked with Boris Johnson and was actually Johnson's pick to become head of Ofcom, the media watchdog, he is to be elevated to the House of Lords. Now, Paul Dacre is a man who is so obnoxious that even Tory MPs couldn't go along with him being head of Ofcom. So instead, he went back to run the Daily Mail, as well as a few other publications in the group. So here's the thing. The Daily Mail had published a story that Boris Johnson had tried to get his current wife, but former mistress, a lucrative job without any experience, training or expertise. The Daily Mail pulls the story. Paul Dacre is editor-in-chief of the paper, so he has the authority to pull these stories. A few days later, we learn that he's going to be made a lord. If that isn't the most overwhelming stink of corruption, I do not know what is. But it doesn't end there. Despite this latest show of gratitude by Johnson, who once said that he wanted to limit the number of peers in the House of Lords, he said there were too many of them. But he has been stuffing it with his cronies for 3 years now. But the story's got even worse. Bear in mind that Johnson is denying that the story's even true, right? That's his line. Yeah, we put pressure on the Times and the Daily Mail, but it's because it's not true. Michael Fabricant, Minister for 70s porn stars, leapt to his beleaguered leader's rescue. Now, Fabricant has form on this. He has tried to defend Johnson multiple times before, because Johnson is always in need of defending from his own stupidity and sleaze. It has never gone well. Michael Fabricant is a man you do not want in your corner. Somehow, he always seems to make the situation worse for Boris Johnson. By now, the whips must crap themselves every time they hear that Michael Fabricant has tweeted in defence of the Prime Minister. On this occasion, he said that the story was true. Johnson's trying to deny that this article is accurate, then Michael Fabricant casually says, yeah, it's absolutely true, but who cares? And then, for good measure, he pastes a copy of the story, which is now more difficult to find. He pastes a copy of the story for anyone who hasn't come across it into the bargain. If Michael Fabricant was actually trying to secretly bring Boris Johnson down, I don't think he would actually do anything different, quite frankly. And you may think to yourself, oh, well, hang on a minute, Phil, Fabricant, wouldn't necessarily know what's going on. He wasn't around at the time. He wouldn't have necessarily known that Boris Johnson tried to get this job. Just because he's admitted it's true doesn't mean it's true. He could just have the wrong end of the stick. Here's the thing. This is actually a big scandal. I know it doesn't seem to be when stood alongside all the other scandals that Johnson's dragging around with him now, but it is. Imagine it in isolation. He tried to create a job. This job didn't exist. He tried to create a job using a significant amount of public money to give his lover a job. Because clearly her skills are so awful that she can't get her own job and she needs her sugar daddy to come to the rescue. And we can now say that this story is basically true. Fabricant might not have known about it at the time, but Tory MPs will have been talking about it amongst themselves. What will have happened is that some MPs will have known about it. They will have known it's true. They've confided in each other and say, yeah, it did actually happen. Then Fabricant decides, it's not actually a big deal. And he does his thing on Twitter. May Johnson continue to use his army of idiots to defend him. Without them, he may be getting away with much more. But it doesn't end there either. It just keeps going on this. Johnson's ethics advisor, Lord Guy, who's still in post, his resignation was not with immediate effect. It was, to carry on for a little bit to allow for a replacement. So Guy has said that this story could be ripe for investigation. Naturally, he won't be investigating it because Boris Johnson refused to give him the power to investigate ethics breaches, which is largely why Guy resigned in the first place. So then the Mirror ran a story which not only put the original claim back in the mainstream media, but found evidence of 2 more times when he's done exactly the same thing. More recently, the report talks of Johnson trying to get Carrie Johnson, who was his wife at this time, a job in 2020. Either involved in the COP26 summit or with the royal family. Seriously, Michael Fabricant claims that she is highly qualified. As what? She's got a degree in theatre studies, right? Are any of these jobs involved in the theatre? No, so she's not at all qualified, is she? She left university with a degree in theatre studies to work as a Conservative Party staffer. Shagged Boris Johnson when his wife got cancer and is now married to him. Only in the eyes of a Tory elite does that make you qualified to do anything. But this growing scandal could well bite Johnson on the arse again. I think he'll probably get away with it with the public this time. Certainly Tory MPs think that. But given that the stories have been pulled from the papers and the country's occupied with the massive political battle over the rail strikes, and that's going to drag on for a while. And of course the by-elections tomorrow. I doubt many people are discussing this in the pubs. Many people won't even know about it. But Labour did try to launch a move to ensure that the government still has an ethics advisor, because Downing Street have indicated they may not be able to replace Guy. I suspect this is because anybody credible, there's no point appointing someone who's going to be a clear toady. So it has to be someone credible. And anyone credible would be insane to want to take this job on. Because why would someone who is genuinely highly qualified and has a range of jobs available to them take on a job from which they would have to resign within a matter of months or trash their reputation? Why? So Labour proposed that if Johnson does not replace his advisor by some date in August, I forget when, it doesn't matter now, that Parliament should make an appointment and that the new ethics advisor reports directly to the Public Administration and Constitutional Affairs Committee, which is a cross-party select committee of MPs. Like the others, it's got a majority of Tory MPs on it, but it does also have members from Labour and the SNP. Tory MPs voted the proposals down. Straight down. There wasn't even a hint of a rebellion. Risky. I think they'll get away with it, like I say, because of all the noise in the media from the rail strikes by-elections. But what Tory MPs have done here is to vote against having an ethics advisor for the government. Because if Johnson doesn't replace Guy, what they have done... Because remember, if this motion had gone through, if Tory MPs had supported it, if Boris Johnson appoints his own ethics advisor, it does nothing, this proposal. It doesn't do anything. All it does is say that Johnson has to replace Guy. And if he doesn't, this is your plan B. They voted down the plan B. So they are voted to allow Boris Johnson not to have an ethics advisor at all. How is that different to voting away the Standards Committee last year over the Owen Paterson scandal? It really isn't. And they were mugged pretty badly by their own voters last year and had to U-turn very, very quickly. Now, they obviously feel they're going to get away with this one. And as I say, I think they probably are. But Labour will be making a meal of this. because they can keep it in their back pocket for now. When the dust settles on the summer of strikes that the government is bracing itself for, and if Johnson doesn't have a credible ethics advisor once Guy is gone, and the next scandal emerges, or a new revelation and a known scandal, Labour can casually bring up the fact that they had this plan to deal with it, and the Tories voted it down because they're all in it together. And Tory MPs will learn yet again that Johnson is going to drag them all down if they tie themselves to him. And Starmer has a new line for the next election as well. He can make his proposal a manifesto promise now. He can say that he's got nothing to fear from a genuinely independent ethics advisor. Absolutely. Why should they report direct to the Prime Minister? Let them report to Parliament. And not the Prime Minister at all, because my government will be honest and we've got nothing to be afraid of. And if I were him, I'd make a bit of a meal of it now, just to establish it as Labour policy, then leave it until it's needed again. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.